For this section, what we're going to be doing is introducing the idea of what a probability is, as well as what sort of things we're talking about when we're looking at finding probabilities. So here, we can understand that a probability is something that we get from any sort of process where there's an amount of uncertainty in terms of what can happen. So some of the classic examples, and we'll talk about what that word classic means in a slightly different way later, are things like dice rolls, where we're going to see the probability of getting a 3 on a 6-sided die, or for that matter, the odds in that case as well, along with things like getting the card you need in a hand of poker.
Three-sider? Oh my god! Oh my god!
As well as maybe getting cards you need when you're playing blackjack. Not that I condone card counting, or that I think it's particularly difficult, at least not as difficult as the movies make it out to be, but the point is, these are the sort of things we're talking about here. Things where there's some amount of uncertainty about what can happen, and there's more to it than just things like dice rolls, things like card draws. We can also look at things in this way in terms of more evidence-based results, where we say that based on previous studies, the likelihood of being in a car accident involving a drunk driver might be 30%. I'm making that number up there for a different kind of probability I might mention slightly later, but the point here is we're talking about anything where we don't know precisely what's going to happen, and when we're dealing with probabilities, we take our values between 0 and 1, where we say that a probability has, or a thing, an outcome, an event, we'll set that notation a little bit more later, has a probability of 0 if it can't happen and 1 if it is guaranteed. And those two things are very important for being able to tell some other types of things that we'll see as we're going further, talking about more complex types of results. But for our purposes, this is a good bridge to get us into our next couple sets of things here, where we have our types of probability, where for us, we focus on what are called the theoretical and empirical types of probability, but there is also a third one you might see, especially if you take statistical methods, which is just called subjective probability, where for subjective probability, what we're thinking of is something that doesn't actually have that much meaning, which is why we don't talk about it too much here. It's where I could say something like,
it's 68 degrees, and there's a 30% chance that it's already raining.
With 70% probability, it's raining right now outside. Again, that's the sort of thing where it's not actually based on evidence, because I'm not actually looking out the window as I say that. It's just a thing. It's a thing that may or may not be happening. Maybe I have some reasons for thinking it's going to rain, maybe I don't.
I'm kind of psychic. I have a fifth sense.
But I'm just saying it might be, and that's what we're talking about there. It's just I don't look at that much in this class. It's not very meaningful. What is more meaningful is looking at those other kinds, where we're going to start here by talking about theoretical, or as it's called in other classes, classical probability.